Welcome to part 1 of 2 in the video series on hazard identification and risk assessment. This video will cover the management process, which includes identifying risk, assessing risk, controlling risk, and reviewing controls. Our safety policy states that health and safety are non-negotiable and take precedence in all business operations. We strive for continuous improvement in health and safety through hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk management. Our vision is to be pioneers in empowering the community with credible, sustainable, and marketable industrial skills. Our mission is to polish the many facets of the human diamond through excellence in the provision of credible training. Risk assessment should be a systematic and continuous process, not a one-off exercise. This aligns with the MHSA number 29 of 1996, Section 11, which requires a more systematic approach. According to the Mine Health and Safety Act, Section 11, every employer must identify and assess health and safety hazards and risks to which employees may be exposed. These findings must be recorded and made available for employee inspection. Employers, after consulting with the Health and Safety Committee, must determine measures to eliminate, control at source, or minimize any recorded risk. If risk remains, employers must provide personal protective equipment and institute a monitoring program. Employers must periodically review hazards and risks to determine if further elimination or minimization is possible and consult with the Health and Safety Committee on this review. They must also conduct investigations into accidents, serious illnesses, and health-threatening occurrences. Investigations must be done in cooperation with the health and safety representative. Upon completion, a report must be prepared identifying causes, unsafe conditions, and recommendations to prevent recurrence. A copy of this report must be delivered to the Health and Safety Committee. An investigation may be held jointly with an inspector's investigation. If there is no Health and Safety Committee, consultations must be held with the health and safety representatives or with the employees if no representative is present. Employers should develop an action plan to meet their risk assessment responsibilities, ensuring worker safety and health. This plan involves commissioning the assessment, appointing competent people, encouraging workforce participation, and setting up review arrangements. The action plan should also ensure that preventative and protective measures consider assessment results, that the risk assessment is documented, and that measures are monitored for effectiveness. Workers and their representatives must be informed of the results and measures introduced. Competence in risk assessment includes understanding the general approach, applying it in the workplace, and identifying when further assistance is needed. Employers must also consult workers' representatives on appointments and provide necessary resources and support to assessors. Worker participation in risk assessment is crucial. Their practical knowledge helps identify problems and develop effective preventative measures. Their involvement makes occupational health and safety management more effective and efficient. Workers and their representatives have the right and duty to be consulted, participate in assessments, alert supervisors to risks, report changes, and be informed of risks and necessary measures. They should also cooperate with the employer to maintain a safe working environment. This section introduces hazard identification and risk assessment, or HIRA. It is required by law MHSA number 29 of 1996, Section 11, and helps employers manage different types of hazards. We must ask, what hazards exist? How often do they occur? What damage can they cause? Which pose the greatest threat? A HIRA helps you prepare for likely hazards and save time by isolating those that cannot affect your workplace. It allows for the creation of emergency plans and training, helping you become proactive. A hazard is any source of potential damage, harm, or adverse health effects to people, organizations, or the environment. HIRA and risk management are not synonymous. HIRA is a component of a larger management approach. As an assessment tool, it proactively identifies potential hazards in the workplace before any activity or task is performed. HIRA is a risk assessment tool that determines which hazards pose the greatest risk, based on likelihood and potential impact. It is not a prediction tool to determine which hazard will cause the next emergency. Remember, safety first. The HIRA process consists of 4 main steps: hazard identification, risk assessment, risk analysis, and monitoring and review. Step 1 is hazard identification, which separates workplace hazards from non-hazards. Step 2 is risk assessment, where the level of risk for each hazard is examined by reviewing likelihood and potential impacts on people, property, and the environment. Step 3 is risk analysis, where the information collected is analyzed to rank hazards and prioritize them for the emergency management program. Step 4 is monitor and review, which is an ongoing process to ensure hazards and their risks are continually monitored and reviewed. A structured approach to hazard identification improves the chances of identifying all workplace hazards. Techniques generally fall into two groups: top-down techniques, working from an event downward to causes, and bottom-up techniques, breaking down the problem to see how components may fail. The structured what-if checklist technique, or SWIFT, is a bottom-up hazard identification method using brainstorming. Its strengths include flexibility, application to any operation at any lifecycle stage, utilizing the team's experience, and its speed by avoiding repetitive considerations. The purpose of risk assessment is to determine the likelihood of a hazardous situation causing harm, the severity of the risk, the urgency of control, and to plan control actions by priority. Hazard identification is the first step, asking if a task has the potential to harm a person or what could happen. The hierarchy of controls includes eliminate, removing the hazard completely; control/engineering control, like installing barriers; substitute/minimize, using a different method or product; administrative/procedural, using procedures or training; and personal protective equipment, used as a last resort. It is always best to remove a hazard altogether before an incident occurs. Work should be adapted to the individual, and common sense should be used when treating hazards. Hazards that cannot be removed must be controlled. Hazard identification must be part of an ongoing risk management cycle. Employees must understand and apply the specified measures. All controls need adequate training and supervision. All hazards must be treated or reported accurately, in the prescribed format, and submitted to the designated person.